Some people don't come back into your life because they've changed. They come back because you're still the same person who once let them in. But remember, healing is a gift. Don't trade it for history you ever notice. Pain doesn't really leave. It doesn't matter how many months, how many years, or how many distractions you pile on top of it. Somewhere deep inside, your heart remembers that moment, that betrayal, that goodbye. It's stored in a place you can't delete. And the thing about memories is, they can be triggered. A song comes on, a place you pass, a smell in the air, and suddenly you're right back in that moment, feeling every ounce of it like it happened yesterday. Pain is not just an event, it's a recording, and the more times you play it back, the more it imprints itself into your soul. The problem is, when someone comes back into your life after causing that pain, your brain doesn't just greet them with a smile. No, your mind instantly remembers both the good and the bad. And because the heart is softer than the mind, it often tries to bury the bad under warm memories of laughter, connection, and love. But here's the truth. Those good memories don't erase what happened. They just make you forget how much it hurt. Until it hurts again, and when you reopen a wound, it never hurts the same way twice. It hurts deeper. Think about it. If you cut yourself, the skin will heal. But if you slice open that same scar, the healing takes longer, the tissue is weaker, the pain is sharper, and the damage goes further. Emotional wounds work the same way. You spent months, maybe years, stitching yourself back together after that heartbreak. You put in the work, you rebuilt, and yet, one late night text, one "I miss you," one "I've changed," and you feel that old ache rising like it never left. That's not because you're weak, it's because your pain has a memory. And memories don't die, they wait. I want you to think about the last time you were broken by someone, not just disappointed, broken. You remember the weight you carried, the way you couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. The way you had to pretend you were okay in front of people who had no idea you were falling apart inside. That's the cost of trusting the wrong person. That's the receipt you paid in tears. And I don't care how charming someone seems when they come back. The debt they left behind doesn't disappear just because they suddenly remember your name. See, pain doesn't just live in the heart. It lives in your habits. It changes how you walk into a room, how you trust, how you love. It teaches you to doubt your worth, to question your judgment, to flinch at kindness because the last time you felt it, there was a hook hidden inside. You think you're healed, and maybe you are, until the person who caused it shows up again. Then the mind flashes those memories like a slideshow, and your spirit says, "Don't you remember what happened the last time?" That's not paranoia, that's wisdom, and yet we've all been guilty of ignoring that wisdom. We tell ourselves maybe it'll be different this time, maybe they've grown, maybe we can go back to the way it was. But here's the problem. Your heart doesn't just go back. It carries every scar, every bruise, every tear, stained night into that new attempt. And when things start to slip, it doesn't take long before the memories flood back in full color. And you're not just reliving the pain, you're blaming yourself for letting it happen again. That double wound, that's harder to heal than the first. So when I say pain has a memory, I'm not saying it to scare you. I'm saying it to remind you. Your body, your mind, your soul are all designed to protect you from repeating the same mistakes. That discomfort you feel when they come back, that hesitation in your chest, that's not bitterness. That's your spirit telling you, don't go back there. The question is, will you listen, or will you hand someone the knife they already used on you and hope they won't cut you again? People often confuse longing with love. They hear, "I miss you," and they think it means, "I value you," but that's not always the truth. Sometimes I miss you really means I miss what you gave me. I miss the comfort, the validation, the attention. I miss not having to face my own loneliness. And if we're being real, sometimes they miss the version of you that didn't know any better, the version that tolerated their mistakes, the version that accepted less than they deserved. So the fact that someone misses you doesn't automatically mean they're good for you. You have to understand, missing you is about their feelings, not your safety, not your growth. A person can miss you and still be toxic for your life. A person can miss you and still carry the same habits, the same patterns, the same weaknesses that tore you apart before. Missing you doesn't mean they've been working on themselves. It doesn't mean they've been healing. It just means there's an empty space where you used to be, and they want to fill it again, without changing anything about why you left in the first place. Think about it like this. If someone smashes a beautiful vase and then months later says, "I miss that vase," does that mean they know how to handle it better now? Or does it just mean they wish they still had it to decorate their shelf? The missing is about possession, not appreciation, and the danger is we often take that as proof that they've learned their lesson, when really all they've learned is that life without you is less convenient. You're not a convenience. You're not a filler for someone's boredom. You're not a remedy for someone's loneliness. Here's the thing. You're not hard to miss. You're the type of person who shows up for people, who gives your all, who loves with everything in you. Of course you're going to be missed, but you have to separate being missed from being valued. Because being missed means they want you back in their life. Being valued means they've done the work to earn that place. And if that work hasn't been done, their "I miss you" is just a way to re-enter without paying the price of change. And let's not ignore this. Sometimes people miss you not because they lost you, but because they lost the power they had over you. They miss the way you made them feel important. They miss the way you forgave them quickly. They miss the way you didn't demand more. And if you let that type of person back in, you're not getting a partner. You're getting a parasite. Someone who feeds off your kindness without ever feeding your soul. And trust me, that empties you faster than anything. We have to be careful about interpreting emotional words as proof of change. "I miss you" is emotional, yes, but it's not transformational. Change is proven in action, in consistency, in a willingness to admit fault and repair the damage. You can't build a healthy future on missing each other. You build it on mutual respect, on trust, on accountability. Missing someone can make you reach for them in weakness. Respecting yourself will make you wait and see if they've earned another chance. So the next time you hear, "I miss you," I want you to pause. I want you to ask yourself, do they miss me? Or do they miss what I gave them? Do they miss who I am now? Or do they miss the version of me that was easier to take advantage of? Because if it's the latter, then their missing is really just nostalgia for a time when they could get away with more, and that's not love, that's not growth, that's not your future. When someone comes back into your life after leaving, or after you had to walk away, your first instinct might be to think, "They must really love me to come back." But I need you to understand this. People return for many reasons, and not all of them are rooted in love, growth, or good intentions. Sometimes they come back because they've changed. Sometimes they come back because they've matured. But sometimes they come back because life got harder without you, because their options ran out, because the comfort they took for granted is gone. And that's not love, that's convenience. You have to be careful not to romanticize a return. We've been trained by movies, by songs, by love stories to see a comeback as proof of destiny. But real life doesn't work like that. In real life, a person can walk back into your world for selfish reasons. Maybe their pride kept them from apologizing until now. Maybe their new relationship didn't work out. Maybe they hit a low point and remembered you were the one who always lifted them up. That doesn't mean they suddenly became worthy of you. It just means they're looking for a soft place to land. I want you to picture your heart like a home. When someone knocks on your door, you don't just throw it open and let them in because they showed up. You look through the peephole, you ask questions, you remember why they left, or why you had to lock the door in the first place. Because if you open it without thought, you might be inviting in the same storm that tore your home apart before. Not everyone who returns comes back to build. Some come back to take shelter until they can leave again. And here's the thing. People know where the good energy is. They know who will pick up the phone. They know who will forgive. They know who will try again. And if you've always been that person, you are a magnet for returns. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you valuable. But value attracts both the right people and the wrong ones. It's not enough to be worth coming back to. You have to be strong enough to decide whether they deserve to come back. I've seen it happen too many times. Someone comes back with sweet words, with promises, with a story about how much they've changed. But when you watch closely, their actions are the same impatience, the same disrespect, the same lack of effort, and because you want to believe them, you ignore the signs. But ignoring the signs doesn't erase them. It just delays the moment when you realize you've been here before, feeling the same hurt in the same place, wondering why it happened again. Sometimes the most dangerous people in your life are not strangers. They're the ones who already know your weaknesses. They know what to say to make you drop your guard. They know which memories to bring up to melt your defenses. And if their return is built on need, not on genuine transformation, then the second they get comfortable, the second their needs are met, you'll find yourself right back in that old pain. A return without growth is just a repeat. So before you welcome someone back, you have to ask yourself, why are they here? Are they here because they've healed what broke them before? Are they here because they've learned how to treat you better? Or are they here because the door was open and they knew you'd answer? Your peace is too valuable to gamble on a maybe. Some people are meant to be part of your past, and the longer you try to make them fit into your present, the more they'll rob you of your future. Healing doesn't just happen because time passes. Time alone doesn't heal, it only hides. Real healing takes work. It takes nights when you're crying into your pillow, and mornings when you force yourself to get up anyway. It takes sitting in silence, feeling the pain instead of running from it. It takes breaking habits, cutting ties, and learning to live without the person you thought you couldn't breathe without. That process is not free. You paid for it in pain, in discipline, in sacrifice. That's why you can't afford to hand it away like it cost you nothing. Think about how far you've come since you were broken. You've learned to sleep without replaying the same conversations in your head. You've learned to eat without feeling your stomach twist with anxiety. You've learned to smile without it being fake. That didn't happen overnight. It happened because you made a decision. I'm going to get better. You fought for that peace, and here's the hard truth. If you let the same person who broke you walk back into your life without proving they've changed, you're risking losing all that progress in a heartbeat. Healing is like rebuilding a house after a fire. You had to clear the rubble, replace the foundation, rebuild the walls, and make it a home again. Now imagine, after all that work, inviting back the person who started the fire in the first place. You wouldn't hand them the matches and say, Please try again. So why would you give someone who burned you emotionally the chance to strike the same spark twice? Your healing is your home. Protect it. One of the most dangerous lies you can believe is that I'm strong enough now. It won't hurt me like before. That's ego talking, not wisdom. Being healed doesn't mean you're invincible. It means you've repaired what was damaged. But if you allow the same damage to happen again, the wound often cuts deeper. That's because you're not just dealing with pain, you're dealing with disappointment in yourself for letting it back in. That self-betrayal can feel worse than the original hurt. You have to remember how hard it was to climb out of that dark place. Remember the days when you didn't want to get out of bed. Remember the nights when you prayed for just one moment of relief. Remember how far away the light seemed, and how powerful it felt when you finally saw it. That was your work, that was your victory, and no one who hasn't earned the right to be in your life should be allowed to put you back in that darkness. The truth is, protecting your healing isn't selfish, it's sacred. You don't owe access to people who cost you your peace. You don't have to prove you've forgiven them by letting them in. Forgiveness can happen from a distance. You can release the bitterness without reopening the door. And that's not being cold. That's being wise enough to keep your heart safe. So before you let someone back into your life, ask yourself, is this person going to protect my healing or undo it? Because every minute you've spent getting better is worth more than any apology, any "I miss you," any promise of change that isn't backed by action. You fought too hard to feel whole again. Don't trade that wholeness for a moment of comfort with someone who once broke you. Walking away once takes courage. Walking away twice takes something even deeper. It takes self-respect. The first time, you leave because the pain forces you to. The second time, you leave because the memory of that pain reminds you not to stay. That second walk is harder because your heart wants to believe the story of change. The hope of this time will be different. But your self-respect knows better. Your self-respect remembers. And if you love yourself enough, you'll choose that memory over the temporary comfort of going back. The truth is, the second walk isn't just about them. It's about you proving to yourself that you've grown. The first time, maybe you left crying, confused, uncertain. The second time, you leave with clarity. You leave knowing you're not abandoning love. You're protecting your peace. That's a different kind of strength. That's choosing to honor the work you've done on yourself instead of gambling it on the hope that someone else has changed. It's tempting to see their return as a sign of fate, to think maybe we're meant to be, but fate doesn't require you to hurt twice. Fate doesn't ask you to trade your dignity for nostalgia. If someone was truly meant to be in your life, they wouldn't put you in a position where you have to heal from them again. And if they have, it's not fate knocking on your door. It's a test to see if you've learned the lesson the first time taught you. I've seen people break their own hearts by believing they could handle a second round. They say, "I'm stronger now. I know how to protect myself this time." But love is sneaky. It lowers your guard when you're around the familiar. The very history that makes you feel safe is the same history that blinds you to the danger. And before you know it, you're not protecting yourself. You're excusing the same behaviors you once swore you'd never tolerate again. Loving yourself enough to walk away twice means setting a standard and keeping it. It means saying, if you break me once, I can forgive you. But if you break me twice, I have to forgive myself for letting you close enough to try. It's not bitterness, it's boundaries. It's not pride, it's preservation. Because the moment you prove to yourself that you can leave again, you're no longer controlled by the fear of losing them. You realize the only thing you can't afford to lose is yourself. Here's the thing. Walking away twice doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you're cold-hearted. It means you care enough about your own future to stop living in a past that already showed you its ending. It means you've accepted that some doors aren't meant to be reopened, no matter how familiar the view. It means you'd rather be alone in peace than together in pieces. That's not weakness. That's maturity. And when you do walk away the second time, something changes inside you. You realize you're not just surviving anymore. You're leading your own life. You're making choices from a place of strength, not desperation. And that's the moment you truly take back your power. The kind of power that doesn't beg, doesn't chase, and doesn't settle. That's the kind of love for yourself that nobody can take away. The past has a way of pulling on you. It knows your favorite memories, your sweetest moments, the nights when everything felt right. It whispers, remember when, and it's tempting, so tempting, to answer that call. But here's the truth. The past can be a beautiful place to visit, yet it's the worst place to live. Because while you're busy reliving what's already happened, your future is standing in the doorway, waiting for you to show up. Every moment you spend looking backward is a moment stolen from the life you could be building. You can't walk into what's next while your feet are planted in what's over. The future holds possibilities the past can't give you: new love, new peace, new joy, new versions of yourself you haven't even met yet. But you can't meet them if you keep circling back to the same story, hoping for a different ending. The past is familiar, yes, but so is a cage. A cage feels safe because you know its limits, its walls, its corners. But no matter how safe it feels, it's still keeping you from flying, and that's what going back does. It keeps you in a pattern that feels comfortable, but not free. The future is wide open. It's the sky. But you'll never reach it if you keep choosing the cage over the horizon. You have to ask yourself, do I want to repeat, or do I want to grow? Because repetition feels easier. It doesn't ask you to face the unknown. Growth is harder because it requires faith. It requires stepping into something unfamiliar without the guarantee that it will feel as warm, as easy, as known as the past. But I promise you this. Growth may be uncomfortable at first, but it will never chain you the way the past can. When you choose the future over the past, you're telling yourself, I deserve more than what I've already seen. You're choosing possibility over predictability. And yes, the past might have had good moments, but if it was truly enough, you wouldn't have had to leave it. Holding onto it won't bring back what was good. It will only prolong what was painful. The future asks you to be brave. It asks you to believe that there's more out there for you than what you've already lost. It asks you to trust that the best chapters of your life are not the ones you've already read. And that's not just optimism, that's a choice. A choice to value your own growth, your own healing, your own happiness more than you value the comfort of staying the same. And one day, when you're living in that better future, you'll look back and realize, letting go was the most loving thing you ever did for yourself, not because the past didn't matter, but because you mattered more. You'll see that everything you thought you were losing was just making space for everything you were meant to have. That's when you'll understand the future is not just worth more than the past, it's worth everything. Listen, you don't heal by going back to what broke you. You don't grow by watering the same dead garden. You don't find peace by reopening the door to the storm you barely survived. The past had its chance, and it showed you who and what belonged there. Your job now is simple. Protect your healing, honor your growth, and choose your future over your history, because love is not just about who you can't live without. It's about who you can still be when you walk away. And if walking away means you keep your peace, your dignity, and your future intact, then that's not a loss. That's a victory.